By the way, Donald, are you trying to get people in the gallery? You get all those comedian friends. Are you trying to get them to jump in the gallery and see what the show's about and all that?
Yeah, well, this says Thursdays is a bad day because all the shows are on Thursdays. And everybody's on their way to the shows. All my comedians, they're on the way, like they're going to be at the Funny Bone. The show starts at 7 o'clock, so they're on their way. Yeah. That's why it's hard for them to get on the show. 7, we got 7 o'clock starting times on Thursday.
No, yeah, that makes it hard. Well, what we're hoping, though, is if the new Zoom integration works correctly, we'll be able to take people off iPads and phones and put them into Wirecast, we believe, but we're going to be testing it next Tuesday. I sent out an email to some people to say if you're available, next Tuesday to jump in.
Yeah, Wirecast just allowed for this new software, the software to allow for Zoom, which would be nice if it works. But we have to test it Sunday and lots of stuff. And then the question is, can I get the gallery in at the same time?
I'm gonna get guys
on that headache or keep them separate.
Yeah, I'm gonna over this. I had
okay,
3 people for.
Can you get me so I can see the screen? And I changed the screen, by the way. I got Tiberius to change the background here.
Tiberius.
Yeah. Hey, Mr. Barrett. Hey, Jeff.
Hey.
Can you hear me?
What's happening, man?
What's going on, man?
Living the dream.
All right. So, Ted.
I was just
my question to you remains: what issue are the Republicans nuts on that we actually could discuss? I mean,
nuts on?
Not about, yeah. In other words, that you don't understand their position on. Okay, that's the type of discussion I'm trying to get for the show. Something that you don't believe. It's why do the Republicans think that? Without getting into why the hell they're voting for what's his name.
Well, there's like 30 of them, but let me think.
Okay, that's what I want.
So many, right?
Because if we can find those things, well, look, as we already agree, if we're talking.
I already told you this.
Which?
This always seems to be an inherent contradiction among Republican, especially the extreme right wing.
Okay.
They want less and less government until a person decides to do, a woman wants to do what she wants with her body, or someone wants to do something with their own gender. Then they want the government all over you. I think that's number one. Okay, the contradiction, the inherent contradiction is less government unless you want an abortion. Then you can't do it.
Well, but isn't that less government or not?
No, you can't have an abortion. Yeah.
What about this?
No.
Well, I think the whole thing about the Republicans is they don't want the government paying for the said abortions or paying for the gender treatment.
The recent laws have nothing to do with who pays for it. You can't have.
Hold on, let me talk to him. What?
The current laws in certain states have nothing to do with who pays for it. You just can't have it.
Can't have them.
Right.
What does that have to do with money?
Well, and that the states are each working these things out, correct?
No, they're not. It's a certain amount of people trying to express their morality on everybody else.
Okay. So, in other words, we only want government when we want it, not when y'all want it.
There you go.
Okay, that's one. Okay,
and it goes both ways. It goes both
ways.
Okay, what's another issue? Tell me another issue.
Just
all right. How come the GOP does not want to support Ukraine's support against Russia, who wants to return to the great days of post-World War II Russia, where they own everything from Poland east? Where's that? Why is that?
I agree with you on that one. It does seem to be that if we're in the middle of supporting a war, who's ever not in power at the time seems to be against it.
Well, there's a difference, though, in that the Middle East, especially Iraq, turned out to be a folly because there was no WMD. That was the basis for going in. The other thing with Afghanistan is we have no understanding of their culture. We just thought we could go in like the Russians did in 1980 and go in and impart our way of life on them.
Right.
And it's not happening. It hasn't happened and won't happen. So that's the difference.
Well, we've thought about that was actually brought up by a few people, Ted. The concept of forever wars in Ukraine would have made a good discussion. I just haven't framed the question yet. okay, trying to figure it out. But you're right. It does seem to be that there's less support on the Republican side, or more criticism from the Republicans that we're, backing the Ukrainians, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, this 20 years ago, I don't
It's a
want
contradiction.
do you think Ronald Reagan would stand for this?
Yeah. No, I don't. I totally agree with you. It does seem to be that's what I was getting at, was the person in power, that they're backing a war, so the other people are against it just because.
So the other thing is I think you got to ask, where is the inner structure of the traditional GOP and why they've disappeared? I'm talking about the great old statesmen like Howard Baker and Sam, what's his name, from North Carolina. These people were established, leaning right, conservative, but moderate, not a moderate, but at least being able to talk.
Right.
Now we're in a war of, if you don't vote for me, I'll demonize you.
Right.
And I think a lot of it originated with Newt Gingrich in 1994, personally.
Yeah.
That's when it started. Exactly. That's when all this craziness started, with Newt Gingrich. You're absolutely right.
Okay, but what are some other topics? I agree with you on Ukraine. We've got that written down, and we definitely want to do a show on that. I still don't know how. In other words, yeah.
I just went up. What happened to the traditional GOP leadership? Why has it been overrun by a far right group?
Well, yeah, I mean but I think that more relates still to personalities. It relates to the fact of the never Trumpers have pulled away. And you're right. A bunch of those people, like what's their name?
Romney.
Yeah, exactly.
You got your Project 25 stuff list. You have
we kind of talked about that, but I really don't think that's something that Trump is after. I mean, that was Project 2025 was done quite a few years ago.
I know, but he
have a good one.
No, it wasn't. There were 40 people from the Trump administration involved in it. So,
well, it's true. I mean, just like the current administration is swarming with, people from Obama's administration. They all stay around, don't they?
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
Well, I have a good one we could talk about. We look at Alexa. We look at all these AI-driven materials. They're supposed to be even or clear. Well, we can pull Alexa right now and say, why should I vote for Donald Trump? And Alexa will say she shouldn't comment on politics. Then I say, why should I vote for Kamala Harris? And it'll give me 20 reasons why. Then I say, why should I not vote for Donald Trump? It'll list 15 reasons why not to, and give me why not to vote for Kamala Harris. We shouldn't say negative things about people. That's what it did.
I'm going to go test it right now.
I'm going to go test it right now. Me too.
Please do.
Go test it, because Joe, it could be you have a California.
I tested it 2 days ago, and it did it.
Hey, Ted, you might have a California model. Go test it.
Hey, Bob, I just saw a couple things going on with the Project 25. Stephen Miller, with his radical right side, had popped his ugly head into this fold of even going after people who are not born in this country. He has put in Susan Rice was on TV. They were on TV the other day, and they started turbocharging the deportations. Even people who are not been born here, deport them too. Stephen Miller, look it up. So he's trying to get Trump to get people deported out, and then people who are actually citizens, and get them deported too if they're not born here. He wants to turbocharge that system.
Yeah, I don't know.
And he's got a bunch of people behind him.
How'd it go, Ted?
Stephen Miller is an advisor to Trump. He's bald.
Oh no, I'm not getting that. No, I wasn't talking about that.
How'd it go? We talked to Alexa.
Did you ask Alexa?
3 questions. Why should I vote for Donald Trump? Why should I vote for Kamala Harris? Why should I not vote for Donald Trump? Each answer was, I cannot answer specific reasons why someone should vote. Did not answer. I cannot answer why someone should vote specifically.
Wow.
That was the answer.
I got Alexa too. I'm gonna check mine.
Because you asked it, right?
I asked it 2 days ago, and it was.
You asked it 2 days ago, and that's the way it went.
Well, that's because Joe Boy has a better sweet talking voice than I do.
Could be.
Why should I vote for Kamala Harris?
Hey, Peter.
How are you, sir?
Well, I'm probably more awake than you are. I've forgotten Peter's in Scotland, and we had Leo running late. He's going to get caught in traffic. Peter, who is a total. Hey, Peter, you're totally a non-drug addict, right?
Peter, where in Scotland are you?
Edinburgh.
Alexa, who's the
Good
best?
for you. When's the last time you've been in Berwick?
Alexa, who was the best?
Berwick.
Yeah.
About 2 or 3 years ago.
We got the
Why?
pool guy
Going.
on.
What
Yeah.
about going?
Sorry,
What about going?
Who's
I passed through it.
the best president of the United States?
Michael
I think in
Hefner.
May this year. Why?
Because a year ago I was playing those golf courses there. That's why.
Ah,
Is Donald
Yeah.
Trump?
You know, you Scots,
Nope.
you Scots don't know how to have a good time. That's your problem. I'm completely assured of that. Spending 11 days drinking like crazy with you Scots.
absolutely.
Are we almost ready to go?
Well, it's 5:58. Better get your son in here.
Okay, Zoom guys. Please don't forget to try to get more people in the Zoom each and every show. We got to tell our friends, get more people in the Zoom so we can have some more comments and so forth. The goal of the Zoom people is if you like what someone's saying, say you go, you got that. It makes sense. If you dislike it, say you suck. That doesn't make sense. So if Ted said something amazing, say you go, Ted. I agree with that. If Jeff said something you disagree with,
Put your video on.
that's bullcrap.
Yeah. There he
It's
goes.
really simple. 1 second blurps. You like or you dislike. Your entire opinion is not what we wrote right now. We will get that in the after party when we have.
Hey, you guys know we're up against another.
individually.
You know, we're up against another entity.
What's that? Jeff, where'd Jeff go?
Thursday
Jeff
night.
ran
Super Bowl.
on.
Thursday
We told him
night
he sucked and he
football.
ran.
Peter, they had this chair still set for you.
Ah, you just, I obviously made an impression.
Yes, you did. I can feel it on my butt.
Thursday night.
There you go.
And we got some coloring issues on Bob. Let me see if I can clean that up.
Yeah, well. Yeah, I'm pretty dark, aren't I?
Well, no, I had to use a new capture card.
Oh, okay.
The capture card I had a problem. So
Yeah, about 10 minutes ago, we had no sound at all because Joe Boy just our soundboard crapped out. Got another one.
and the new one's just having
And
problems.
new one's just finicky. Yeah, so Ted, I got to figure out how to phrase that government one. I mean, you're right, but you're right. We could find places. So do we go into something basically as to, where do each people want the government to be in that the other one doesn't want to be? What do you see the question of that one?
I mean, there's certain things the government should take on, don't you think?
Yeah.
Big things, big problems like how do you clean up a nuclear waste site outside Denver, Colorado that some people direct to take 30 years. And then some guy from the Department of the Interior figured out how to do it and did it in 6 years with $30 billion in savings, and he turned it into a park.
Right.
So things like that, just, there's people capable of doing that in the government. And I point that out to you all the time. Big government's bad. Big government's bad. I'm not necessarily.
Oh, no, I've been reading those emails and you've got all good points. I'm just trying to figure out, I don't want the question to be an indictment of the Republicans or an indictment of the Democrats.
Right.
That's always my problem, is trying to balance the question out. But I mean, you are right that when we talk about big government or small government, the Republicans are for small government, except for those things, right? That they want to control.
I think it goes back to Reagan, though. He wanted less government to let the corporate raiders do whatever they wanted to do. And they did in the 80s, all the corporate turnover that happened, the mergers and acquisitions. That's what he was talking about. It's the financial markets, and it happened.
Yeah.
And it led to the libertarian outlook that most of the tech companies have taken. All stem from that in the 80s, personally. So, you can blame Amazon's monopoly on Ronnie Reagan if you want, personally.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw
Yeah, we
one
want
good
bull
quote.
guns,
I
Jeff.
wish I'd have
That's what we
written it
want.
down, but it was basically something like, Democrats want to tax more and spend more, and Republicans want to tax less and spend more. Something like that.
There you go. Yeah.
I mean, because none of them have reduced the spending in this country. I mean, there's no
Well,
question.
Reagan did the same thing. He raised the defense budget and cut taxes.
I kind of like the idea of Elon Musk as being the consultant, the government. I'm sure you're pretty excited about that, Ted and Don.
Oh my God.
Oh, that would be good. What was the great line Michael Chase said on Saturday Night Live? The best way to bring down the Russian invasion is have Elon Musk become the premier of Russia. Yeah, that would end their invasion.
Hey, Peter, I'll go to you last, by the way. So you're here, Peter, you'll be here for comic relief.
Yeah, Eli. Eli is crying about us, but taking billions of dollars from us. I don't get it.
I know Elon Musk is almost to the notoriety of we can't mention him in the show, but
well, he's Neon Musk. That's what Trump called him last week, was Neon.
Neon, I love it. All right, well, hey, Ted, if you come up with some other topics, like I said, again, all the ones we try, like immigration or police reform, or, you know, we have agreement. Okay, what's that?
I've got somebody.
I didn't see it, Ted. You have to show me again. What was it? Harper's. Got it. Oh, yeah. Harper's Index. I've looked at that and we've gone through some. I've just got to, what I got to do is when I put the topic out of there, I've just got to promote it so I can get to people. You know, what's happened is with 20 different panelists, everybody has different ideas.
Okay. I'm muting the Zoom meeting because I can't.
So the point is, Bob, there'll be 40 points in there, but there's always one or two things you go, that's interesting. Can we make a discussion?
Yeah,
that's
no, you're right.
I'll send it to you later.
I was just saying on some of your emails, how about every 10th email be something that I could actually talk about? How's that?
No, I'm too busy just inundating you with Trump, latest news, Trump this, because
he said it.
My God asked me to, post that Facebook. You feel safe from being eaten. I want you to know.
You said the name. Oh, no.
There you go. Yeah.
Okay.
It's my game
until why not? Who knows?
We'll talk about dogs now. Oh,
yeah,
wonderful.
We're cat, dogs, pets. Yes, cats.
Yeah.
Have you guys noticed I put my clock?
Well,
you know,
we're talking about dogs. Are you getting hungry?
I think the North Carolina barbecue works better with the cats. Something about the vinegar.
How many of you have been in Haiti?
Well, you know, JD Vance said
JD
Vance said the other day that the Haitians are from Haiti.
Here, ask a simple question. How many of you have been to Haiti?
What?
How many of you in the panel have been to Haiti?
None.
Me.
Yeah, there you go. Good for you.
Why don't you ask me if I saw any stray dogs?
No.
Did you see any dogs?
Doesn't mean they're being killed in Springfield, Ohio.
Okay, let's focus on the show, guys.
What about Korea? I've been to Korea.
Today we're talking about what about it? Oh yeah.
God.
I've been to Korea.
Jeff Barrett more weed.
There you go.
Or how do we make it so they can't arrest Jeff Barrett's ass as we're doing the show?
Now you're talking about.
Okay, let's set this up. Video timer's on. Audio timer's on. Setting up in 5, 4, 3. Welcome to the Third Side Convo with your host, Bob Phipps. Your panelists today are Ted Johnson,
Michelle,
Jeff Nolan.
No, Barrett.
Oh my God, the numbers are wrong. We've got to reset it. Let's redo that and make a whole nother video. Crap.
Hold on one sec. It was so funny. He even asked me whether you had 2 R's.
I
and
put
2
the names
T's
in, but the
your name.
computer crashed, so we got to redo it.
Computer crack. Well, yeah,
we'll redo it again.
Oh, that's funny. That was such a good. That was Ted's best intro ever. My God, he was smiling. He was looking at the camera.
It's going on the bloopers.
I know when Ted's accessing that cortex of his brain because he always looks up.
Hey, poor guy, just you and me today.
His left.
there you go.
And I close my eyes. I cannot watch myself.
You got a blooper reel now.
I've never seen these things. I can't watch myself.
Oh yeah.
I've had to look. I mean, it's just been practice. I've hated watching myself on this thing. Absolutely hated it. You're coming across fine, but it is funny how you look up. You know you do. It's all right.
I think on the fly, I close my eyes. It's just right.
No, but it's when you're accessing that cortex of yours or
Ted
whatever.
Johnson,
you know,
Ted Johnson. Ted
whichever
Johnson,
cortex it
Ted
is.
Johnson.
It's either
Jeff
you're
Nolan.
lying or you're telling the
You're
truth.
not
I can't
Jeff
remember
Nolan.
which one it is.
That's not Jeff Nolan.
That's Jeff Barrett.
How do I? Is Jeff Bear Hug, right?
Yeah, Barrett.
Bear Hug?
Yeah, exactly. Grin and Barrett. Yes. You did get the
Blooper
wine
reel.
guy right, though. His
Yes,
name's
ladies
correct.
and gentlemen, we're
You
having a
got the
blooper reel
alcohol
on
guy right.
the
Exactly.
third side combo.
Wow.
You guys could keep it down here.
Blooper
I'd
reel
really
right
appreciate
now.
it.
Joe Boy's smoking the topic today, apparently.
Yes, we're on the got pool boy.
You know
pool
that's not
guy.
true.
I know.
As you guys can see, I put the clock in the
Okay,
picture.
let's take a look at those again. Ted,
They're having
Ted,
some technical
Jeff.
difficulties
Now you got it.
on the other
Oh,
side.
what the hell's going on with the centerpiece though?
And we are.
Here I am.
It's me and the pool guy
There's
today.
the centerpiece. I know it. He's got me on the next one, but not on the first one. He's trying to get me on that middle
It's
one.
great to see these guys, but
Thanks,
they can't
Jeff.
hear me anyway. So I'm just going to talk.
Well, we are
crap.
trying to fix it one thing at a time.
I heard the
Wondering
greatest quote
why.
today, or a few days
Messed
ago.
up.
It was somebody said.
So,
Well,
Jeff,
that
what's
is
that
why we
T-shirt
take
you got on?
quote.
Is it something that
The exact
is
quote
relevant to
was,
the show? It's one of yours,
I
isn't
don't
it?
know where
Yep,
these
yeah.
people are
I
coming
can't read
from.
it. You're in
These
way too
nations.
small of a panel for me to
But
see
I'm
it. But
Pot's your friend because nobody ever died from
to
secondhand.
Venezuela.
Funny.
Yeah.
Not only did he get the thing,
Well,
wrong,
thank you
he
for
got the
putting up with my delays.
2 bloopers in one
Evidently,
speech.
it happens.
We're not going to say who the guy is.
it's okay. We just
Let's
got to
go to a
get Peter to
commercial
bed.
break
It's
now.
past his bedtime. It's
Yep.
10:30 there now. Or
I was
11
saying,
o'clock there.
I was saying I
Oh,
heard a
11,
quote,
10.
No,
not the exact
Normally I
quote, but
like
it
to
was
be in
something like
bed by
this.
about 8, you know?
Okay.
I don't know where the Haitian people are
Trying
coming from.
this
Well, you
again.
definitely
I'm gonna
shouldn't have
deport
answered
them
my
back
call
to
then, but thank
Venezuela.
you. I didn't want to lose Leo from him hurrying back. Ready?
Let's try this again. Resetting. Video recording, audio recording in 5,
Sponsor.
4,
Ocean Spray.
3.
Tip to you, man. Open straight. Yeti. I drink the whole bottle.
I had to reset the darn timers again. Oh my gosh. False
You got a
start.
lazy-
Oh my gosh.
Hi.
I just realized I got a lazy eye. I didn't realize this.
Don't
Yes.
worry about it.
Oh, need to look
Timer
into
show
that.
is messed up.
Hang in there, baby.
Yeah.
I know. It's just been a day. Okay. 3.
Now, so
Two.
it's important now. I don't.
Welcome to the Third Side Convo with your host, Bob Phipps. Your panelists
sir.
today are Ted Johnson,
Ted Johnson.
Jeff Barrett, Peter Gallo. No, not him again. Joe Boy. And now your host, Bob Phipps.
Well, welcome to the Third Side Convo, where today we are going to talk about Amendment 3. Now, of course, this should actually be an easy show to get through with this without mentioning any people's names, because we're just going to be talking about Florida's Amendment 3 and its idea that we're going to all of a sudden now have recreational marijuana in Florida. Now, we've had medicinal marijuana, and we've got Ted Johnson on this panel, which we're so happy to see him, given the fact he's from California, and he can kind of give us some inroads on what really happened there. Now, it's, I guess, been on the ballot, or, of course, talked about it for a while. Joe Boy actually was involved in trying to get the medical marijuana started. So we're going to be talking about maybe whether we should do it, but also what's going to happen next. If it passes, as it looks like it's going to, what's going to happen? Some people in the panel may be happy. Some people on the panel may not care. But what is it all about, and what's likely to happen next? So let's go on and go to Ted first. And Ted, y'all have been on this since what? I think 2016, or is it 18? Y'all have had the medicinal marijuana. What? Or excuse me,
16.
recreational.
Yeah,
What happened?
2016, we voted it in. I think it came up in 2012. I voted against it in 2012, but voted for it in 2016. There are a lot of issues have to be worked out. But I will say this, that and just recently, I think in 2023, cannabis sales in California raised $6 billion in taxes. Now, I'm going to also let you know that recent studies, because there's an excise tax, just like there is excise tax, just like there is an alcohol and cigarettes.
Yeah.
That $35 worth of marijuana will bring sales tax, excise tax, and another tax, and you'll end up paying roughly $53 for $35 worth of marijuana. So just think about that. 50% of your money goes to taxes. And so I think personally that's okay. But I just want people to know there's other issues that came up when California started, and it was financial. You cannot pay with a debit card. You cannot pay with a Wells Fargo debit card in many dispensaries because Wells Fargo is based in North Carolina. In North Carolina, marijuana sales are against the state law. And Wells Fargo did not want to get in a criminal case with millions of people buying marijuana. So all those things have to be worked out, but can be worked out.
Got it. So you're saying the 5-finger bag for $15 doesn't exist anymore, is what you're telling me?
No. Well, and the other thing is in California, just like
That's good.
The experts, the culinary, which are now agricultural experts, have come in. They know when to put certain nutrients in the soil at a certain time. You get flavors, you get different treatments, harshness or softness, even flavors into the smoke. It's become just like wine. You know, I like this, I like that. You can get maple, blueberry syrup, marijuana, flavored marijuana now. It's grown naturally, by the way.
See, that's pretty cool. I like that.
So Jeff,
You're not on
Barrett,
smoke.
let's go ahead and go to you. And what do you think the difference is? Why are we doing this, and should we be doing it?
Well, yeah, we should be doing it. And like California, they've made a lot of money. Colorado made billions of dollars. Florida has a medicinal law, and it was obvious that everybody wanted it. I think they've done an informal poll here several times. 75% of the people will vote for recreational. So the tax money, and we could use the tax money here. So I don't see any problem with it. It's going to be regulated. Like Ted said, it's going to be heavily taxed, heavily regulated. Now, I don't think it's going to get rid of the black market. The black market didn't disappear here with medicinal. So because of those high prices, that's why you're still going to have an underlying of black market. But most people are going to want to go to a source like what Ted said. You got culinary
Go to a legal
pot
place.
growers that can grow any flavor, any dose. They can control the doses a lot better. So people are going to be safer to get a regulated
Trusted source
dose.
Okay, cool. Now you've heard for the 4. Joe Boy, what's your opening thoughts on the again?
There's the governor calling.
Yeah,
Here
exactly.
comes the governor's calling.
This is a tough one because I actually worked on the program to get it. And I started almost 6 years ago when my neighbor came to me and said her father, who was a police officer, wouldn't take it because he was concerned about breaking the law. And so we built a website. We made PUFM, People United for Medical Marijuana. We raised $500,000. But guess what? It takes $2 million to get something passed in Florida because you have to have 1 million signatures and it costs $2 per signature. After 3 years of failures, Mr. Morgan comes in and brings in $5 million and comes in and grabs people and brings his own people in and gets it run twice and finally gets it passed. I'm happy it's done for municipal. I'm not jumping up and down about it being done just for recreational use. And there's a lot of reasons why, which we'll go into, when we get time, right? Time. I'd love to go into all of them now, but everyone's got to have a turn, right?
Yeah, well, let's start out, Peter. And you're in the UK, and apparently they have, I just looked, they have medicinal, but they don't have recreational. What are your thoughts on this? And
well, the difference is in the United States is essentially a motor car based community, a motor car based society. And you're going to have people driving
at TSA
under the influence of marijuana.
The marijuana.
People get very excited about the number of gun deaths in the United States. The number of deaths on road traffic accidents is more than twice the number of homicides. And if you have people driving under the influence of marijuana, that is not going to get any better. It's going to get worse. So how many road deaths is it worth?
Yeah, well, let's throw that out to Ted. Ted, what have they found? I know in Colorado that they've seen an increase in traffic accident fatalities related to this. What they see?
I don't think there's any increase compared to alcohol driving under the influence. Now, I don't think they break it out, but there's been no major increase in DUIs. They're still high, especially on weekends, but they can't trace it. They are able to arrest people if they suspect them of being under the influence of marijuana. There are tests, but none of them work really well, except a blood test in the police station. And then they know when recently they did it and if they're under the influence.
It takes days.
Think about marijuana. You can leave traces in your blood system for 3 or 4 days, even up to a week. That's why marijuana testing for jobs can be a real issue sometimes. You may not get stoned for 2 weeks and it can still be in your system. So I don't think that is a big issue as much as the recreational use was considered to be so great that they might as well grow it in. It hasn't changed society in any major way.
The demand for the recreational use. Nobody's denying that there's a demand.
Right.
Yeah, but when it's legal, does that mean now we could force construction workers to be able to companies to hire someone who may be smoking because now it's legal?
They're all
yes,
smoking.
It's happened. And what has gone away when I took a job at Johnson & Johnson in 2012, I actually had to go through a drug test. And you don't see that anymore because people know that it doesn't matter if there's marijuana in your system. It all comes down to what you do in the job. Same thing, whether you smoke or not, comes down to what you do behind the wheel of a car.
We can't do it in the government.
Police will say on a Friday night or a Saturday night, as many as 1 out of 3 or maybe 1 out of 4 cars, the drivers are probably at the limit or just over the limit of alcohol. It's just a matter of whether or not they get in a rut, but it's that great. And so I don't think marijuana use has increased that number very much at all.
So then you're okay with a crane operator operating heavy machinery over your head or your children's head. That's okay if they're high.
No, I didn't say that at all. I said if they smoked the night before, if they smoked the night before, they're not high. They're not high 8 hours later, Joe boy.
Okay.
It's in their system.
So you're perfectly comfortable with the driver of an 18-wheeler on the interstate, right?
Not
saying
I don't think you said that, but I may be wrong.
It's full of people who have I remember people being blind drunk, being interviewed on television saying that I can still drive.
right.
This is the argument. I can still drive. I've had 8 or 10 pints of beer. I've had 3/4 of a bottle of whiskey. I can still drive because I know my limit.
I still think alcohol is worse.
Until the day you get into a smash, and the reason we have a blood alcohol level is for that purpose.
Absolutely. We don't have a test for marijuana, so why legalize something we can't test for?
Well, first of all, if you look at people driving on the highway, drunks tend to drive faster when they're loaded. Stoners don't. It's not the stoners you got to worry about on the roadway. It's the road rager behind the stoner that's causing the accident, trying to get around them. I mean, let's face it, how are you going to get wrecking at 3 miles
Good
an
job,
hour?
Barrett.
Your airbag isn't going to show up for that. And as far as
That's a scientifically provable fact, is it? That stoners drive slower than that.
Well, it was on Cheech and Chong movies. They seem to,
exactly,
seem to have some truth there.
There's no test that can accurately test people who are smoking. And to the point about people working, if you're a competent worker, you're not going to come to work stoned top there with a crane. The problem is the marijuana is in your system for up to 30 days, if not longer.
That's right.
Testing.
But if you're an
It's a very
incompetent
inaccurate
worker,
test. Very inaccurate.
what if you're an incompetent worker? And God knows, I believe there's about, 7 or 8 of them in the state of Florida.
And most of
the
them are in
thing is,
Congress. Like, hey, what
Peter,
if we're now
you're
going to make it
incompetent.
legal for them? An employer cannot block them from being hired because of that, because now it's legal, and that's messed up.
You're missing the point. Just because you smoke at home, this is what's changed in California. Just because you smoke at home doesn't mean you show up the next day stoned and
Exactly.
you're competent, ready to go to work. That's what's changed. Absolutely. And Jeff's right. It gets in your
Explain to me
system.
how that's changed.
And if you
Because
legalize,
you're not stoned at 8 hours later. That's why.
How do you know?
Well, that's like saying people are not drunk at 8 o'clock in the morning, right? Because people don't drink first thing in the morning. Some people
Okay.
do.
Oh, I work with
Peter.
people that drink first thing in the morning, Peter. That's not true.
Yeah, Peter.
Well,
I had a
let
guy.
me
But
just-
it's legal, Jeff.
Peter, let me just put it this way. You said someone who has 8 or 10 pints, they said I can still drive. Someone who is that stoned, that level of deep stoning, you would know just on immediate upon sight that that person is incapable of getting behind a vehicle and driving, and the officer would never let him in. It wouldn't even be a test.
We're not worried about the third party's observation of the guy who can't stand up straight. We're worried about the individual himself.
Well, isn't that true about the 8 and 10 pint guy who gets in the car anyway?
That's exactly the same thing.
Absolutely.
Right? If your brain is fritzed, you're going to think, I'm fine, I'll be okay. And the danger of driving is not that you're just going to kill yourself, is that you're going to slide across the median, hit a school bus,
Yes.
hit a woman with 7 kids in the back.
Right.
Right. And the casualties is not limited to her. If it was something that just limited to hurting yourself, I'd say knock yourself out.
I got it.
Collateral
Like-
damage.
All right. Well, listen, we're going to have to take our first break. Okay. Hold that thought because I know some insurance and legal issues we got to look into on all this. So we'll be right back after this first break.
Corona Cigar Company is your one-stop shop for all your
You
All right, we're back. Joe Boy and I were talking a little bit
Right.
before the show, and there's some issues that we might have to look into legal and insurance wise. What happens if somebody gets in an accident and it is, I don't know if assumed or let's say that it's brought up that you may have been high? What would happen to your insurance, Joe?
Well, you know what? This is an interesting one. And I currently date someone who works in the legal field. And I asked her about it quite a bit because I really want to understand it. Right now, if you are in a car and you injure someone else, your insurance has to cover that person who was injured, but they may or may not cover you. Now you are available for damages, and those can go into the millions because you were committing a crime at the time being drunk. The same thing happens with marijuana, but making marijuana legal now with no definition, no determination of exactly what is the level of high, it will make that very hard for insurance companies to determine whether or not it's a crime or not at that point, because driving under influence is a crime currently. But if marijuana is legalized, now, since there is no determination, how do you define when they are high or when they are not?
And it's too hard to test.
It's very hard to tell.
So
And
I
now
suspect
they have
that
to
the
cover
insurance
people,
companies are
and
going
those
to err on
that
the
get
side of
injured don't get to
caution.
go for
If you have
damages.
marijuana in your system, even though you smoked it 10 days ago and you get involved in a road accident, they're not going to pay, because the only thing that insurance companies love more than collecting your premiums
It's not.
is declining claims.
Is getting people.
Yeah, I
Well,
wonder if there have
Peter-
been any cases on that, Ted.
Not again, Peter, you go to examples that just don't work. You go to an accident 10 days after you've been stoned, and even if it's your system, the officer looks at your eyes are clear, you talk clearly, you pass any
Sorry,
physical test.
You're conflating the criminal offense of driving under the influence and the insurance company's liability to cover you for it.
Then I'm just telling you that there was going to be no offense filed by the police on this
But
case.
that's what I'm saying. It's not an offense, right? You can get involved in a road accident. You may have been smoking pot a week ago, 10 days ago, right? If your insurance company
But it's not
have a
going to show on
requirement that
the
you have a blood test,
numbers.
and it turns up that you had marijuana in your system 5 days
Blue guy,
ago,
the numbers
an
won't be-
element thereof,
Won't be that
and they
high.
don't want to cover you for it, the very fact that you were not committing a crime at the time is not relevant to your private party contract between you and your insurance company.
Okay, that's very fine. It depends on the contract. It depends on the company, how strict they want to get.
Yeah,
I'm
but
gonna
right
choose
now
one
it
that's
is a
gonna-
crime. And that's how
Thanks for
they're using
interrupting,
it.
Joe Boy.
They're gonna have
Thanks
to
for
rewrite
interrupting,
all
Joe
the
Boy.
policies to
Thanks
make
for
everyone
interrupting,
do
Joe
blood
Boy.
tests. No one's
Thanks
gonna
for
do blood
interrupting,
tests.
Joe Boy. Thanks for interrupting, Joe Boy. So the point is this, it all matters of whether or not you're competent to drive behind the car. And if you are, even though you have elements of drugs kicked up in your blood, which could be the same said for barbiturates, sleeping aids, turmeric. You know, if too much turmeric in your liver, that may make a person fall asleep. Gee, what are we gonna do? How fine a point do you want to make, Peter?
And alcohol is legal.
Yes.
Alcohol is legal. Alcohol kills more
exactly.
people than anything on the road.
And driving
Because it's not available on the roads.
Nobody has ever died from an overdose of marijuana. I know I've been trying for about 40 years.
Okay, well, here is a thought though that where Peter's got some sense here. It may behoove all of us, and I know you should do this, is to actually read your frigging insurance policy, because I'd be willing to bet that one of them would sneak something like that in there. You'd never see it, and boy, that would be hell. I'm just saying. And he's right about the fact that if they
Probably
insurance
on
company
page
find one reason to
122.
disallow, they will.
Fact
But
is-
you haven't seen that come up
Right.
yet, as far as you know. Not in California. You haven't heard of any of that.
Page
Right. An
122.
insurance contract is legally classified as a contract of verimi fide, the ultimate, the utmost fidelity. That means if they ask, do you're a life policy or whatever, and they ask, is there a history of heart disease in
Right.
your family, and you say no, you then contract heart disease and there's a claim on it, and they discover that your great uncle 3 times removed died of heart disease. The fact that you didn't know about that is, good luck with you arguing about that. The reality of it is, if there is a provision in the contract, right, it will be very strictly interpreted against you. And I'm sorry.
It's probably not a bad, Peter, you're right. It's not a bad idea to know what is in your policy. I can see them as more and more states do this. Now, Ted, there is one thing I want to ask you about in California. From what I heard, that even though, yes, there was all this millions brought in from marijuana sales to the state coffers, what I heard, though, is that alcohol sales were down, beer and alcohol sales were down, such that the net effect wasn't as good. Now, that possibly could be just because that's, that it's been down for a while. I don't know, but that's what I read.
So that's a good point. And personally, I haven't heard that. I don't see it in my locale. I don't see it in my household, actually, though I have cut back. But the point is that a bad thing that alcohol has come down? Like Jeff says, your mental acuities decline greater in alcohol than they do in marijuana. I from someone who smoked and grew it back when I was in college, I can state that as a fact.
Yeah.
Now, but back to the other issue that doesn't come up. It did come up immediately, and it had to do with the financial issues, is these dispensaries, because they couldn't use banks, had to take cash, and you had to put cash in a box.
Yeah.
And then guess what? People in Oakland said, I'll ram this stolen SUV through your front door and take your cash, which has happened. That has settled down, though. That has evened out. People now, they use credit unions, and some banks allow it to be used. So that's taken care of.
Yeah, the banks have really gone crazy on that, and there was CPA firms that actually were specializing in it because they had to work all in cash, but there's also some other things too. They're not allowed to deduct things because, quote, it's illegal on the federal level. So there's still a lot of federal stuff that's
Very tricky.
And that's actually made the cost of running dispensaries and the cost of the marijuana much higher because of the federal. And so that's really stupid what's going on in that stuff. But y'all don't want me to sidetrack on the tax effects of the marijuana business over the next 20 minutes. So we'll go on to something else.
Well, no, but you're on a good point, Bob. If the banks would play ball, because all these dispensaries have to run on cash, and I think Ted probably has seen out in California where these other banks are willing to jump on board. The banks, they got to run cash for everything. The banks will let them deposit cash into their accounts, but they won't let them run debit cards or anything else. It's very hypocritical. If it was federally legal, you would see the price of everything come down. Then the dispensaries would be able to have write-offs, as you know. All of a sudden, all their garden equipment would be a write-off.
Right.
And
I'm fine for it for medical purposes, federally. I've been for that.
Okay,
Okay,
Joe.
Bob.
Yeah.
Bob, we've got to take a break, but when you come back, I'm going to tell you one more big benefit that marijuana has brought to Canada as well as the Americans.
That's what we're going to do. All
American.
right. So we're now on for our second break, and we'll be right back. And certainly make sure that you subscribe on our channel on thirdside.com and go on Facebook and YouTube and do the same and like it. And we will be right back after our sponsors.
Aw, Dad, my computer's slow again. Tickets today. The website again is bcairboats.com.
All right, for our final second, we're going to get some thoughts from everybody, and you're going to go on and we're going to put everybody on our 30-second hourglass. And so, Ted, you wanted to kind of start us off.
So I used to work in a business that made as a manufacturing company called Insulated Metal Panels, IMPs. These are big sheets of steel filled with foam insulation, polyurethane foam insulation, greatest insulator walls. Half the commercial buildings in Europe use IMPs compared to 15% in the US. But when I left the business in 2019, there was a boom in these buildings, a demand for these materials in Canada, because the cannabis farms, they make perfect growing environments that we control the interior temperature and humidity of growing marijuana year round through lights. So when you have a building like that grows marijuana, you have enough heat, but you also want to have enough humidity, and you don't want any interference. When it's minus 10 degrees outside, you want to make sure it's 72 degrees inside that building with the lights.
Well, great story. What was the point, though?
The point is that there's a demand. That demand for marijuana kicked off a building boom throughout the Northeast as well as Canada.
Got it. All right, Jeff, is this time for this to happen?
Oh, absolutely, it's time. And let's face it, the more marijuana we can grow, even outdoors, the more it'll help the planet release more oxygen, take out toxins. And that also goes in line with growing more hemp and getting this country back on an industrial revolution to legalize marijuana. And hemp is already legal, but I can't grow hemp hedges in my backyard, even though I couldn't smoke it, get high. You have to have a license. So we need to release the government. And I appreciate Joe Boy being part of Puff'em. I also was part of Puff'em, and I would take a clipboard up to after my comedy show every night, and I would get signatures afterwards to get it medicinally on the ballot. And I would do like Eagles clubs and places like that. There were heavily right-wing Republican and had a majority of those people selling. So that's why I know that recreational marijuana will pass favorably here in Florida. Sorry, Peter. You can just say
Peter, now tell us your thoughts.
Peter's like, no way, man.
You know, prior to any kind of legalization, this was a completely illegal underground business, and there was a lot of criminal activity and people making a lot of money from the proceeds of crime.
Right.
What are they doing now?
They're taxing it.
Now, what are the people who were involved in the criminal enterprises doing now?
Well, in Northern California, in Garberville, which was marijuana Sinsemilla capital in the late 70s, they're growing it. They got approval. They got the regulations. They got approved by the state.
That's the growers.
Yes.
But what about the people who are involved in the distribution? What are they doing now?
They're probably going into other stuff. What do you think, Peter? Yeah.
Legal distributors, the farmers used to be the distributors. Now, there are no distributors because it's totally legal. It goes to the dispensaries. Dispensaries put their orders in ahead of time.
What I'm asking is, there was a lot of people making money because it was a criminal activity.
Right.
Yeah.
You're trying to tell me that they've all gone straight and they now go to
Peter is one of the biggest marijuana distributors out there. And he's
So what's-
a stark Republican.
Well, how do you measure it?
Yeah.
Like what? What do you want to measure? I mean,
I'm asking a question. I don't have the answer.
I'll tell you what happened. Here's a really good thing for you, Peter, to understand. When marijuana was legalized, when medical marijuana started being legalized across the US and then was legal in California, the cartels who have still grown marijuana around but have gotten out of it, what did they get into? They got into heroin and fentanyl.
Yeah.
They went to a new market.
Yeah.
There you go. Not marijuana. There's no Mexican marijuana anymore. Peter. There's no Mexican marijuana.
Well, you know, I mean, if you can taste the difference.
Can we mention?
Hey, hold on. Hey, guys,
I
we're going to give our youngster 30 seconds, if not more, because everybody's having more than 30 seconds. Tiberius.
I honestly am a little kid. I don't really know stuff, but I do hang out with people, somewhere on the show, who do smoke.
Wow.
It's not that bad, although I wouldn't legalize it for fun purposes, or at least fun purposes, if you know what I mean. But honestly, I'm thinking that this show is turning into an episode of Breaking Bad. So that's how we're going to this video about.
Okay, hold on. Do I get my 30 seconds?
Yes.
Bob?
Yeah, the
I have
final 30
seconds. Okay, here's the thing. I was there when it first started. I actually made the original logo. I was not for putting the marijuana leaf. I wanted to actually put the THC compound. I wanted to make it about medical purposes. For me, it was important that it be used for medical purposes. I needed it for my feet because I have issues and constant pain. So I did want it for that. Now I can't use it because it also takes away my Second Amendment right to carry a firearm. And so therefore I chose not to use it. And that sucks for me. But guess what? Doing it recreationally, that to me is just, it's such a nightmare of where it could go. And I'm afraid for what happens with it. I just think it's a really bad move. I do want it for toilet paper. I do want hemp for clothing and all that. I think it could save our oxygen. So I agree with Barrett on that 100%.
So Joe Boy, why don't you use CBD? Why don't you get mail delivered CBD out of California?
I didn't say I don't.
Oh, there you go.
Okay.
All right. Well, I didn't know where this show was going to go. And since, we didn't have some really anti people on here, Peter, you did a great job. I just grabbed you at the last second. And I understand everybody's points here. We're all good on this. And it looks like it's going to pass. I just wanted to know what do we expect next? And from what Ted's saying, not much changes, and that's just the way it is. And sometimes laws are like that. Sometimes they're big changes. Maybe it's always been that way, guys. But thank you for this episode of The Third Side. Again, subscribe and like. And I promise you we'll be better next time, maybe on a topic where we disagree. So thank you very much. See you next week.
Take care, Peter.
Good shows.